Hello, everyone, and welcome to uh, deck tech for the Fury Road or Apocalypse Max X deck, popularized by special guest Asha Stillman, who's here with us
Hey,
right now to talk about it. So, Asha, you played this deck at Worlds, and
I
it
did.
went quite well for you. So, do you want to tell us a little bit before we jump into what the deck actually is trying to do? A little bit about how you came up with the idea and what the general strategy is?
Well, like a month and a half or so before Worlds, and this is all like written up in the Netrunner DB entry. About a month and a half before Worlds, I decided to sort of as a joke take the old aggro max shell and put an apocalypse in it just to see what would happen. And it just felt tremendously unfair. Like I played 3 games with it, and every opponent was just like, "Yeah, this is really not fun. It's totally unfair." And so I figured this is probably a deck I should be working on. And so it went through a lot of iteration and a lot of broken hearts, broken dreams before settling on this particular version.
Uh huh. And
I mean,
so,
if you're
yeah.
familiar with the old aggro max decks, there's not really that much that's super different here. Probably the biggest difference is that there's a full breaker suite buried underneath everything else.
Right. So, in addition to Eaters, you have still one Kuroda, one Mimic, one Yogg. So, we'll just go over the deck list in order because I know there are a lot of like one-ofs, so it might look a little um, strange. But of
Oh, it
course,
is a little strange.
it is a little strange. All right. Well, that's perfect then. So, uh, first, what should we talk about? All right. We'll go over. Should we just go alphabetically? How do you feel about that?
Sure.
Okay.
A lot of the
So
cards don't even really need extended discussion. Like we all know what I've had worse and Deja Vu are there for. But starting from the top, there's a Count Siphon, which is kind of the backbone of this deck. Like a lot of aggro style max decks don't really have access to Clot, especially not at instant speed. So we need some way to stop fast advance. But beyond that, it's just a really, really powerful card. Like you can use it in conjunction with Eater. You can shut a corp down. Like you can run a corp out of money with repeated account siphons, and of course you can deja vu and same old thing it back. Like everyone knows why account siphon is good. It's won every world.
yeah, that makes
Then
sense.
then we've got amped up. Amped up is a weird card. Like some games you really really want it. Like there's a lot of games where you can get a keyhole run going for essentially nothing, and you want to just amped up to drive that game to the ground. But there's a lot of times when it's also just like a card that's totally dead because you don't have an efficient way to make use of the extra clicks, or you're going to risk losing your recursion for Levy or something like that. So I ended up playing it as a one of. A lot of the time, you actually end up like deja vuing and amped up, or same old thingy and amped up for the one extra click, just because you need that one click to finalize the game. And I think it's worth it a lot of the time for just those plays.
Yeah, that seems like it would be really relevant. It seems strange the same old thing, but I mean, if one click can easily be the difference between winning and losing. And so maybe should we leave Apocalypse or should we talk about it now? Or is that the like capstone of the
Apocalypse
deck?
is the most interesting card in the deck. I mean, a lot of games will end basically when you play Apocalypse. Like you can sometimes get a DDoSed Apocalypse off really early and put the corp behind. You can sometimes, like if a corp goes wide, do it really early and again like run them out of credits and out of cards. And usually when you get into that sort of situation, you're so far ahead that you can usually like just drive the game into the ground with keyhole or something like that. It's also something you can force late game, and I think a lot of people might not necessarily try that because you have to like deja vu it sometimes. I mean, you're playing max, so you're going to get in your discard pile occasionally, but there will be games where you end up just like apocalypsing, getting it back with deja vu, and then playing it next turn, and the corp will see it coming because you can't not show it to them, and they won't have a real option to avoid it.
Right, and because it actually seems like it might come up sometimes that you can amped up in order to deja vu or same old thing the Apocalypse immediately rather than having to do them like deja vu at one turn and then Apocalypse next turn. Has that ever happened to you?
It's something that I dream of, but I think it only has happened once or twice. Like it's very hard for circumstances to line up exactly that way, but I've definitely done it.
Right.
we should transition to talking about all the money, because it's kind of like it's all over the place in this deck list. Like we've got Day Job right there, but then we've got Sure Gamble and Queen's Gambit lower on, and Liberated Account all the way at the bottom of the resources.
Oh, right.
These are all like really, really important for the operation of this deck, because it turns out using Apocalypse costs you a lot of money.
Right.
Like this deck plays basically all the super efficient Anarch Econ cards, and I kind of wish it had even more, because you really, really bleed money heavily with this deck.
Yeah.
Like either keyhole runs can cost a lot if you don't clean up first. And obviously, you're going to be trashing a lot of corp cards, because a lot of corps are going wide these days.
Right, so you just have basically the most efficient, especially burst Anarch economy that is in Day Job, Queen's Gambit, Sure Gamble, and Liberated Account, right?
Right. I mean, I would play Sustained Economy, but the fact of the matter is there isn't really good non-resource Anarch Sustained Economy. In fact, I don't think there's any sustained non-resource economy except for Magnum Opus in the game.
Right. And so Deja Vu, I've had worse, obviously do what they do. Knifed, what do you usually try and knifed?
Strictly for wraparounds and Eli's. Wraparounds are a huge hassle because you need to find the corroder, or they're exorbitantly expensive. So it's nice to have knife for those to like kill them off David. Also, sometimes you get a curtain wall.
Right, if they oversight it, and then you can David bust through it. Or, I guess...
Well, if they don't oversight it.
Yeah, right, of course. Yeah, that seems like it would come up a reasonable amount. Knifed is a card that seems to be popular in these kind of decks, just because between Same Old Thing and Deja Vu, you can often find it, and like in certain situations it can be extremely relevant, especially with Keyhole, if you're trying to...
Absolutely.
Yep. And so Levy...
Levy, Queen's Gambit, do what they do.
Yep. Retrieval Run. Yes, that seems like it would make sense with Eater and Keyhole together, and Fem.
Version, it pulls out Fem. Surprisingly, you use it on Keyhole a lot because it's just cheaper than Deja Vuing and playing it normally.
Right.
That's really all I have to say about that.
Okay, cool. So Sure Gamble's Wanton Destruction. This is a card that's kind of people have gone in and out of playing, but I think most people have realized that it's quite strong in these kind of Eater Keyhole decks when you're trying to, like, when you have one turn that you can play it immediately. Once you've gotten set up and you can play it immediately, you can just push the advantage forward. Or how do you usually use it?
I don't love the card. In fact, it's probably the least effective card in the deck. But there's a lot of circumstances where it's just tremendously useful. Primarily, like, it's amazing early game when the corp doesn't have an adequately defended HQ. It's amazing right after an apocalypse when you can just like run the corp out of installed cards and then run them out of cards in hand as well. Especially since they've probably been holding a couple of those cards since before the apocalypse. It's not an all-star, but there's just enough places where it's useful that I like having it.
That makes sense. And so Plascrete, of course, does the usual Plascrete thing. Do you find that usually Plascrete and I've Had Worse are both necessary to protect you from the kill?
Yeah, you can't rely on I've Had Worse because you will run out of cards in your deck. And if you have to levy, that means you might lose your I've Had Worse.
Oh, right, of course. And so once you've gotten to no cards, then the I've Had Worse basically blanks, and then they have a turn. If they just save up their resources for that turn, then especially with like 24/7 news cycle, which you can't like realistically deal with except for Imp, then they can just wait and then get you that way, right?
Against one Harp deck at Worlds, I actually ended up recurring the Plascrete several times with Deja Vus because like he was just stockpiling meat damage and unleashing it repeatedly because he had me essentially perma-tagged.
Right, to try and to be able to get multiple meat, like rather than having to save it up for one turn, winnow down your hand, and then you have to rebuild and then do it again to potentially try and kill you, right?
Right.
Okay, so Icebreakers.
I don't think there's anything really remarkable about the Icebreakers here, except for the fact that I'm running the full standard suite of breakers. It essentially came down to people are playing wraparound, people are playing Turing, people are playing swordsman. Okay, they're not really playing swordsman, but they are playing architect,
Hey,
and
I've
it's
seen
really
some
nice to have
swordsmans.
ways to get through all of this.
Right. Yeah, I've seen some swordsmans popping up now and again just to deal with the abundance of Fausts. I mean, I don't know if it's the best answer, but if you're Jinteki, there's not really a great answer.
Right, right. And so I guess below that, the only resource that's really notable is DDoS. DDoS is actually pretty hard to play right because it's a little bit expensive, and if you're in tag me mode, you're not going to be able to keep it around. But it makes Apocalypse so good, and it makes it a lot harder for the corp to score. A friend and I were actually talking about like essentially what control means in Netrunner, and control when you're a runner means that the corp cannot afford to score or cannot manage to score. And DDoS is one of the cards that gives you that sort of control as a runner. It essentially, even the threat of it says to a corp, they need to spend a lot of time icing up and just being able to answer a DDoS before they can score. And that's a lot of what makes this deck effective. Just generally forcing the corp to build up a remote to the point that it's safe from all of your potential threats to it. And then the deck can just apocalypse or use the fact that the corpse invested those resources on the remote to keyhole repeatedly. It's a very powerful way to play Netrunner.
Yeah, exactly. Like we know that DDoS and Siphon have been best buds ever since DDoS is printing, which was not that long ago, but of course it seems like the two cards should work together. But it also is that does make sense that the threat of DDoS on their remote, like DDoS just works A on their remote, B with Siphon, and C with Keyhole because of those are the important servers, and also perhaps on archives after you keyhole them, like as a mini blackmail. I'm sure that must come up occasionally.
I've done that a lot.
Yeah, because how can they possibly afford to put multiple ice on archives in addition to all the protecting their other three servers, right?
Right. All right. Shall we jump into a game?
Yes, I think that would be great. Okay, thank you very much for your in-depth explanation, as I'm seeing here confused as to what half these cards are primarily used for. Okay, this is Wilfy Horig here with Asher Stillman, and we will see you very soon for some games of Netrunner. You can say bye now.
Bye.